delighted to have two very distinguished Saudis with us this afternoon to address the question of the future of U.S.-Saudi relations. Dr. Jamjoom is a member of one of the most important and oldest of the great merchant families of Saudi Arabia and, in fact, of the Middle East. His family is active in a variety of areas, in petrochemicals, manufacturing, real estate, the healthcare industry, and others. He also is active in the educational field as well, serves as an associate professor, I think, at a major university. Our second panelist is primarily an educator, I think it's fair to say. He's associated with several of the major institutions, educational institutions in Riyadh. He's a member of the Board of Education, I believe, in Riyadh, and holds a couple of faculty positions. I was amused in seeing an ad maybe 10 years ago, probably some of you have seen it, which had three Japanese gentlemen. It was an ad for a Japanese company. It said, "We have the best educated executives in the world." And those executives were standing there in their college sweatshirts, which read MIT, Harvard, something else. That was an East Coast ad. Today we have a West Coast ad. Dr. Al-Khalil is his PhD from the University of Southern California. Dr. Jamjoom received his PhD, I believe, from Oregon. Oh no, Claremont. UCLA BA, State University, California, for his MA, and then Claremont for his PhD. Institutions which were well known. Our third guest, who couldn't be with us, was also a product of the West Coast educational system. So we're absolutely delighted to have this particular theme, which is of such great importance to us, addressed not only by two gentlemen who are so prepared and knowledgeable, but with whom we have much in common. Gentlemen.
Dr. Bird, we thank you very much for this extraordinary presentation. And we would like to thank our guests for coming for this short notice. We appreciate your coming. It shows that really there is something ties us. We are here just to remind ourselves about our long-lasting relationship. This relation that lasted or started 70 years ago. We have been together in many times, and we were together in strengthening our relation. So I would like to read some of the points that I just wrote to remind ourselves with this strategic relation between Saudi Arabia and the United States is so important for three reasons. The first is the economic. Saudi Arabia has demonstrated skilled stewardship of its petroleum reserves. The Saudis have cooperated with the US in maintaining a steady flow of petroleum for more than a quarter of a century. When an energy crisis comes, we do the right things. The second is the track record of the relationship. For 60 years, these two countries have cooperated on security matters. During the Cold War, we fought communism together. In the 60s and the 70s, we contained many socialist revolutions and rebellions together. During the 80s, we defeated the Red Army in Afghanistan also together. In the 90s, we conducted Desert Shield and Desert Storm together, and we also lost bloods together. And now we are fighting the war on terror together. Unfortunately, we are both victims of September 11th. And we are now fighting the war on terror. Kingdom has a unique position in the Arab and Islamic worlds. Saudi Arabia has a critical leadership role within the global Muslim community and has constantly used its influence to ease regional tensions. Within the Arab world, nobody does anything of importance without obtaining Riyadh's opinion. Frankly, during this war on terror, having such an ally at the center of those two cultures is crucial, and we are there for the cause. So I'm here to discuss these issues. How can we stick together for those who likes to divide us, for those who love to see us divided? We have been a strong ally, the most valuable allies in our area, and I think we should open our heart and we should discuss it frankly, and we are here to hear from you what is the information you have received through the media, which we all don't appreciate, and if we can clarify some of this issue, we'll be more than happy to answer you. Thank you.
Gentlemen, I'm not exactly sure of my historical facts, but there is a school of thought that I understand says that in the Quran, there is statements relevant to foreign troops on Islamic territory that is against the Quran. It is contra to what is stated in the Quran. And if that's the case, this school of thought says that if we were to remove our bases from Saudi Arabia, which is the sticking point of many of the Islamic terrorists, they don't hate Americans, they hate our bases that are in Saudi Arabia. If we took those bases out, closed them down, this terrorist threat would go away. That's what they want. Would you comment on that?
First of all, let me thank all of you, ladies and gentlemen. We are very happy to be among you this afternoon. I feel the United States is my second home because I studied in the United States, I lived in the United States, I have 2 kids who are Americans, born in America. I can't forget that day when they were watching the television live, they were crying. All of us got hurt when the tragedies happened against the United States of America. One of my daughters asking me, "Dad, am I going to go again to America?" I said, "Yes, you are going to go to America." So back to the question about Bin Laden. In fact, that was Bin Laden understanding of Islam, not our understanding of Islam. Bin Laden represents only himself, does not represent Islam, does not represent Saudi Arabia, only represents what terrorists are about. He is criminal, period. We didn't support him. He was disowned by his family. His citizenship was also canceled. And in fact, he ran away from Saudi Arabia to Afghanistan. When he was saying, for example, that the American bases are making this or that, we are saying no, because American troops were in fact invited by Saudi government and has been there for a long time, and they were there for good cause that we support as citizens. I am saying this as citizens because here I'm not in fact representing the government, but American being there were invited and very much liked, and they were there for the world stability. And that's what Saudi Arabia about. The relation between Saudi Arabia and the United States is about stability, world peace. We'll be back to Al-Qaeda and about Islam and what the Quran says. Quran has been there for so many years, for 14 centuries. Jews and Muslims have been together there. Christians and Muslims have been together there in all the civilizations. Why now? It's just terrorists understanding, radicalism. And we will not let those radicals win. Those guys in Afghanistan or other places have to be fought, and we will fight them together in Saudi Arabia and also in the United States.
As far as my understanding, that after Muhammad died, that Abu Bakr found the will of Muhammad, which stated that in Arabia, not in Yemen, but in Arabia, only one religion can be tolerated, and that anyone who is not of that religion either has to convert or leave. And the Jewish communities that lived in that part of the world had to make that decision. Is that, and I know some dispensations were also made for Christians and Jews, particularly in the time period of when we needed oil experts to come in, that it became permitted for non-Muslims to live in the land of Arabia. What is the status of that now?
This notion about other religions to be in the what's called Arabian Peninsula has been there in the literature for many centuries. We understand that. But what is the right understanding of that literature? That is what the scholars, Muslim scholars, are about. Some people, for political reasons or for ideological reasons, want to expand what is meaning these holy places. So they want to expand them as far as they want. But that's not really the right understanding of the Muslims. Yes, Mecca and Al-Medina, it is for the Islamic faith, but not any other locations as far as I know. And I discussed this myself because I am teaching in the Imam Muhammad Islamic University, which is really the source for the Islamic knowledge in Saudi Arabia at least. I didn't see any proof or any significant scholars who are really forcing these issues. For history, there are other faiths, people who believe in other faiths in the Arabian Peninsula. They have been there for work, they have been living there, and it's a matter of really discussion among the religious scholars. But the dominating idea, particularly in the Saudi kingdom, which is the start of the 20th century, that is never a problem for us until the radicals come to make it a problem now. But it's never a problem for us, never a big issue for us. The radicals now want to, in fact, impose their agenda on us here and there. But Islamically speaking, religiously speaking, scholarly speaking, it's like Rome, for example. There are some, or Vatican is a religious base for the Catholicism. Mecca and Medina is a religious base for the Muslims, but not to expand the meaning to disregard others or to make any kind of also expelling other faiths from the Arabian Peninsula. And that's what's the dominating idea in the Saudi scholars there.
Dr. Jamjoom mentioned the appearance of voices speaking to interfere with the alliance that's long stood between the United States and Saudi Arabia, which has surprised many observers as coming up quite suddenly in the American press recently. I wonder if you'd say some more about that.
Everybody is aware of what's going on in the media now, and which is really annoying both sides. I mean, our media also are reflecting what's in the media here, which also agitating our people. And what we are worried is about, it's making the gap greater now, because the people also in Saudi Arabia are getting so upset about this campaign against Saudi Arabia, and it's reflecting on the relation. There is a lot of uptightness on this, and this is why we're here. We're trying to smooth this and to make sure that it will not reflect on our relation, and this is a crisis for both of us, and we have to stick together and to make sure that we will overcome it as we did it in the past many times. And I think we will do it. Thank you. I'm Muslim myself. Sometimes it bothers me that Kaaba, which was built by Ibrahim, by Prophet Ibrahim or Abraham, Prophet Abraham.
Prophet Ibrahim, who is prophet of Muslims and Jews and Christians also. We don't allow people who are non-Muslim, even though they are Christian and Jews, to even for pilgrimage to come to Kaaba, or not only just Kaaba, but enter into Makkah or Medina. Isn't it hypocritical for us Muslim to demand something different from Israel about Jerusalem? Though I'm Muslim, I think we should allow other non-Muslims to Makkah, Medina, and Kaaba, and at the same time, then we can ask for Jews to allow more rights for Muslim in Jerusalem. Otherwise, it looks like hypocrisy.
Well, religion is always, and we are not the people who are making the religions. Religions are making us sometimes. So let's use the best and the essence of the religion and the religious issues, not to try to do something that is not in our hands. What is really important is to have good relation among the people of the faith, among the people, regardless of their religions. I think this is more important than allowing this to go to this place or allowing it to go to this place. Probably even if you make a decree or a rule for this group to go to that place, probably they can't go. But to maintain the good relation, tolerance, and to focus on tolerance among religions and among people, regardless of their religions and regardless of their backgrounds, I think that's more important to me at this particular time than anything else.
I have two questions. Thank you guys for coming here today. You're good sports. My first question has to do with Prince Abdullah's peace plan. What is the current status of that? Has that just totally disappeared? And if that ever does achieve any success, how do you two believe that would affect the entire Middle East? My second question has to do with Iraq. 10 years ago, the coalition against Iraq included Saudi Arabia and was quite cohesive and strong. Here, 10 years later, it appears to me that none of the contiguous countries to Iraq, including Saudi Arabia, are willing to join the coalition. What's the difference on your position versus Iraq today versus 10 years ago?
For the first question, for Prince Abdullah, it was not an easy job for him to convince 22 countries to go for this concept, and it was approved, but unfortunately, it was not received from the other side. So I thought it was a chance to make the Middle East in a very peaceful, prosperous future. It was not easy for him to convince even the locals, because for them it was a great steps forward for the stability of the region. Unfortunately, as I said, it was not the reception was not to that intent. The second day, still Israel have proved that they are not interested in that peace treaty and they don't want peace into the area. For the Iraq, it's different in 1990 and today. In 1990, there was an invasion to a country, and so the whole world was against a country to invade a country. This time, it's different because it's interfering in a country's regime, which we are worried that it will affect affect the whole area. So if there is, everybody hates Saddam, we hate Saddam, we don't want Saddam, but it should be in a different way. It should come from within the people of Iraq themselves to get rid of him, or to help those people to get rid of him, because it will be a start of a new era for the whole area, that to interfere in somebody else's country. Plus, that we were hoping for a peaceful solution. So we hear that the United States have a budget for $355 billion for the war. So why not part of it goes for peace, for helping the area, helping the people, finding a peaceful solution than creating more hatred to the American people in the world? Thank you.
Yeah, I have two very brief questions. First, it's well known that 15 of the 19 hijackers were from Saudi Arabia. I'm just asking you your personal opinion on why you think that might be, and what also might be the official position of the Saudi Arabian government or regime as to what that would be. And then one more brief question is that it seems that the good relationship between your country and our country seems to be largely based on oil. And, you know, with all the type of human rights violations in your country, I mean, our country has this extremely, supposedly great relationship based on oil. If we did not need this oil so much and had other sources of oil or found other sources of power, do you think that the relationship between our two countries would significantly change? And if we were not buying this oil from you, how would that significantly affect your country?
About the 15 people from Saudi Arabia, that Israeli Saudis and among the terrorists, it was to us tragedy. We were shocked. Everyone was shocked. Even the government, they were almost in a state of denial because they were shocked. How come? How did it happen? Is it true? It is like something that, because of the history of the country as a private country, Saudi Arabia, for your information, has been very private country. Peoples have been very private people also. So when the news came to them, it was to them a great shock, like it happened to you. Then later, when they came to realize that it's true, some of their kids really went against their friends, then the anger came. Why to do it? We should talk to our friends. And let me tell you, my friends here, I don't think it was a coincidence, accidental. Seems to me it's something planned, deliberately, not targeting you, also targeting us. They came to be against us in a place or an area that we can't tolerate. They could not be successful in Saudi Arabia, so they came to the United States of America because they know that we are not going to be, in fact, happy. It's not a blizzard. It's not something we will tolerate. Therefore, those people were selected deliberately by the bad guys. They selected the Saudis deliberately to destroy the relation between Saudi Arabia and the United States. You know why? Simply because they know the significance of this relation, the historical, mutual, beneficial relation. The relation is not just about Saudi Arabia and the United States. The Saudi-American relation has been very fruitful to the world affairs. As my colleagues, Dr. Jamjoom, were saying, it was very fruitful for America, for Saudi Arabia, for the Middle Eastern countries. During the Cold War, we fought together. In the Iranian crisis, when the Iranian revolution came, we fought together also, that revolution. When the crisis, Saddam Hussein, the jerk, who's called Saddam Hussein, came to invade Kuwait again. We fought together. And now we are going to fight together. So those 15 kids were stupid. Some people played game with them and they committed the crimes because they were utilizing our goodness, your goodness, our goodness. There were a lot of advantages between us. Visas are easy. relations are very smooth, faces are familiar, everything was going very smooth. So they selected them deliberately to destroy this relation. They know, those who selected them know very much, that if the relation between these two countries destroyed, it's easy for them to disturb the world peace, the world stability. Therefore, we are so concerned as Saudi citizens and as the people who really love this country and respect and appreciate this relation between Saudi Arabia and the United States. We are so concerned because we should not let the radicals win. We should not give radicals the peaceful way or the easy way to really achieve what they want to achieve. They have an agenda, believe me. They have an agenda, and we shouldn't let them do it. And my concern here today, this afternoon, is also to be very careful about radicalism, not just in the Middle East, also here in the United States. Radicals, whether they are Muslims, non-Muslims, radicals are radicals. They have their agenda, and like what Dr. Shihab was mentioning about the media, we know that the media doesn't represent the American view, but some people also have an agenda. So we have some our radicals, and you have also, I'm sure, some other radicals, and we should in fact focus not to let them win and understand our responsibilities. In Saudi Arabia, sure, we have really to carry on our responsibility, and we know for sure that we have some deficiencies, we have some issues to be changed. And what happened in 11th of September is awakening us, in fact. It's a wake-up call. Okay, come on. Let's see, let's go. Let's go to the schools, let's go to the mosques. Let's find out what those people are doing behind our back, because we want to fight them. And I think no way, in fact, to come and to overcome this crisis unless if we maintain this good relation and come together, communicate with each other. My feeling is it could be an opportunity now to really bring this good relation to the highest level instead of the opposite, to the highest level. Why? Simply because the relation has been just between politicians. The relation between Saudi Arabia and the United States of America has been, in some ways or the other, confidential. American citizens didn't know what is it about. That's why so many people are questioning us. Do we need Saudi Arabia? One day I was watching Fox News. Do we need Saudi Arabia? I said yes. So some American citizens, common citizens, are asking these questions. Also in Saudi Arabia, some people saying, well, we don't need also the United States of America. Europe is there, Japan is there, so it's okay. Let them get angry. No, it's not about this issue. I think 11th of September now asking us to come, also the relation between Saudi Arabia, to put it in the right track. It has been beautiful, wonderful, fruitful, and in fact beneficial. But now it should be between also Saudi people, American people, business people, and also in America and the United States. Scholars also to be among also this issue. So it will be, in fact, has been strategic, it has been economic, in economics, it has been, and also with world security. But it seems to me now it is our issue, not just to the governmental, not just to the politicians, not also just to the media people. So hopefully this relation will be maintained beautifully and will be nurtured by the right-minded people. So they come, take care of it, maintain it, and nurture it.
The second question had primarily to do with, I think within that first question there was probably a challenge to the educational system within Saudi Arabia as well, with the charge that so often the Wahhabi faith creates some complications.
Is it a problem for you, the Wahhabism? It's not a problem for me at all. Why? Just because Islam was and is and will be the religion of peace, prosperity, stability. We didn't have in Saudi Arabia what is called Wahhabism. This is a name that's given to us. And in fact, if we even will accept it, it has been okay. If there is it's called Wahhabism, it has been working for 1 century. The main issue is the understanding, whether it's Islam, whether it's Christianity, whether it's Judaism, whether it's whatever. The main issue is the moderate, the right understanding of Islam. In Saudi Arabia, there is no such a problem with the religion. In fact, Saudi Arabia has been voicing the moderate voice, politically speaking, religiously speaking. I will tell you one thing from an experience. There are so many Islamic movements, radical, and Saudi Arabia has been the country, the entity, let's say, the Islamic entity that is trying to persuade others to really, or bring them to the mainstream of Islam, understanding of Islam. Main issue to us is really to see the mainstream of understanding Islam dominating. There are some people in the what's called Wahhabism radicals. It's true, but they are insignificant. We didn't have religious identified groups that are violent, known, and has their title and their organizations. We didn't have that at all. In fact, we are against that at all. Some individuals, yes. There are some individuals who are problematic, but the main issue is we have been dealing with them. King Abdulaziz, 1927, fought the radical religious groups. They were against him. In the probably some of you remember, some of the religious groups from within Saudi Arabia, they put the Holy Mosque under siege for 3 weeks. Nobody was able to go to pray. Radical groups could be any place, but the word Wahhabism is not really existing in Saudi Arabia as it has been said here and there. It is true. Saudi Arabia is a conservative country. I'm telling you, that's what it is. But it's not an extreme. It doesn't really breed or it doesn't expand extremism at all. Otherwise, there would be no good relation. I mean, no change in Saudi Arabia. Policies, religious groups, no change. Religious institutions, no change. When did the change came? When the radicals grow and become a political force. Now, then the issue came to be discussed. I see Dr. Shihab wants to say something, I think.
No, I want to hear the education question. What was?
The second question had to do with oil, and the assertion was made that that really is the center of the relationship between the United States and Saudi Arabia, which is a position, and that without that, our relations would be radically modified. And the questioner ended up by saying, what difference would it make if oil was not in the equation? Is that fair? Yeah.
I think you have to appreciate the position of the Saudi Arabia regarding oil, because without the strong hand of Saudi Arabia in the OPEC, the oil could have been $100 per barrel. So we played a very important and strong hand on the OPEC decision regarding the price. We were always there to balance the price to be very reasonable, very acceptable to the whole world. Or, as I said, easily it could have been gone to $100, and wherever other countries wanted to increase the price, we will increase the amount, the pumping of oil. So I think we should really appreciate the role of Saudi Arabia regarding the oil. And this is not the only reason for our relation. We have a lot of sharing values. We have a lot of cooperation between us. We have a lot of partnership in many things for all these past, as I said, 70 years. So I don't think we should only tie our relation with oil, because as I said before, we fought communism, we fought terrorism, we fought together in many, so we're always very close allies to the America.
I'm concerned about the extent of classical anti-Semitism which is permeating the Arab world, of which Saudi Arabia is part, including the use of the Prodigals of Zion, the most base, lowest caliber of propaganda against Israel, of course, and against the Jews. And of course, we do have an increase in anti-Semitism in Europe, among the Christian groups too. So it's nothing surprising. But I wonder, and also when you hear that over 60% of the population polled in certain countries in the area favor suicide bombings, they favor, of course, the elimination of Israel. That's part of the equation there. So that I wonder if you would comment on those facts, or not necessarily facts, that I'm bringing up.
Well, for anti-Semitism, I mean, we are cousins to the Jewish, or we are also Semitic, so we have nothing to do with this part. We have been almost in every verse in our Quran, we are in front of Moses and of Jesus. So we believe in all religions. So this concept of we are anti-religious or anti-Semitism is wrong. All what we are looking for, the fairness of the cause. What Israel has been doing is unfair to those people. And we are repeating what happened in the Holocaust Part 1. So we call what's happening now, it's Holocaust Part 2. Because we thought that for those people who have suffered during the Nazis' time, they will be more kind to the world, more kind to the human being. But what's happened is they kicked the people outside of their country, and they made them terrorists, which is not true. I mean, those people are fighting for their rights, for their country, for their homeland, for this. So this is the main issue that it's making the whole conflict, and the misunderstanding of this issue, making the people, they don't understand the real problem in that region. People have nothing to do. I mean, they have no schools, they have the basic rights of the humanity that they don't get. So I hope that the media, unfortunately, they are misconceptualized this issue, and we have nothing to do against the Semitic, because, as I said, we are part of them. Thank you.
I want also to say about the sentiment. In fact, Saudi Arabia has nothing to do with it at all, against Jewish faith or about Christian faith. In fact, it's the opposite. Saudi Arabia trying to be catalyst in the Middle Eastern issues. See, for example, the Prince Abdullah, Crown Prince Abdullah initiatives that was brought to Beirut, and 22 countries agreed on that to implement that initiative, and it has become a Middle Eastern initiative. All the Arab countries, not Saudi initiative any longer. So we are against that totally. We are not for that. We are not an advocate of this sentiment at all. What is really important is for particularly your role is to be played, which is to have fair American foreign policies. That's what we are concerned about now. This foreign policy of the United States has to be now questioned. I was in London 2 weeks ago, and even Douglas Hurd was there and some other lords, and we were discussing with them some of the issues. They themselves complaining about some certain issues of the American foreign policies. We would like, hopefully, this good relation will be the vehicle, will be helpful, and will be instrumental to bring that moderate voices. We can't control, of course, Saudi Arabia is a country in its territory, can't control all the other countries. However, Saudi Arabia believes in the interdependency theory, believes that when all people have the right to exist, and in Saudi Arabia we are good examples, in fact, there. 7 million non-Saudi workers, professionals are work in Saudi Arabia. Are all of them from the Islamic countries or Arab countries? No. So how come we come to bring them and insult them? No way. We believe that we are welcoming everyone, and in fact we have, just if you take Americans, how many thousands? More than 35,000. Not just today, since 1960. or 1955, and they were there. Americans were Muslims? No. Nobody asked them about their religion. British, Europeans, all of them were there, from Philippines, Asian countries, from all the places. Nobody asked them about their religions. Hindus and others, nobody asked the workers or those about their religions. So the main issue, in fact, that's not in Saudi Arabia. I understand it's in some places, but not in my country at all.
I'm very happy that your children are being sheltered from this horrible thing that our children are not being sheltered from. I want to ask you if you really don't think that the Saudi Arabian government, which is a monarchy, which does not look to the future of its youth to find a way in which to educate them and have them learn to live with the Western world, which is really your problem. And I have a suspicion that the anti-Israeli stance of Saudi Arabia is really anti-Western and anti-intellectual development, technical development, when Israel made a state that is quite a thorn in the side of the Palestinians. It does seem to me that a rich country like Saudi Arabia could help the Palestinians with their economy and help with area. You know, your country is very huge. Palestine will be very small, and I don't understand how it will be economically secure. What are you doing? You, Syria, Egypt, Jordan, to make a Palestine secure to be a neighbor with Israel?
Well, first, let's get their land back. You want them to be reformed, to have a country, let them have somebody has been kicked out of their homes. They can see their house and they cannot come back to it. So the first step is to come back, let them come back to their home. Then everything will be normal. But as long as those people are kicked out of their houses and you insist to grow and you have more settlement and you have more settlement every day and you are killing all those people, then this is the main problem. Let's first solve this problem, then the rest will be easily solved. People from Russia, why they leave to go back to somebody else? People from other countries, why they leave and they go to Israel? Israel, the Jewish people have been all the history. They will be the best neighbor to the Arabs. Whenever there was a crisis, the Arabs were the only people who opened their arms to the Jewish. When during the history, if you go back to Spain, where did they go, the Jewish? To the Arab world, because they believe in the people of the books. And they were living together. All my best friends were Jewish. And even the Nazis, what happened? Where did they go? Always the Arabs are the people who received them. So the main problem is not the Jewish conflict with the Muslims. The problem is invading other territories, peoples, and kicking them out. And they are in the street for now 50 years. And they have lost their faith in life. This is why they are suffering. So if this problem has solved, I think everything will be so easy. And this is what my friend was saying, is the foreign policy has to be changed. We have to look at fairness. America now is a superpower, and everybody is looking to America as a model of fairness, of freedom, and what's happening with this double standard, it's making everybody angry. They want to see this country as the big sheriff, that they are fair, no double standards, that they deal with the whole world in fairness, because everybody is looking to America as the model of democracy, as the model of fairness. And I think if this problem is solved, a lot of this anger that is happening and a lot of this relation which has this ambiguous look will be much better than what you see now.
First of all, the Israeli Palestinian conflict is not in any way a Saudi issue. I mean, it's not a Saudi problem. It's important for the world to come together and really help both sides to resolve the issue. Saudi Arabia was unified, you know when? 1932. And Israel was created 1948. So, you know, see, thanks to God, we took care of our lands and we secured it and we maintain it. Israel didn't. Our, in fact, hope in Saudi Arabia that Israelis, Palestinians will come to understand their role and to be responsible for themselves first of all. Issue is for us, are we working with the United States of America particularly to really bring the peace? I'm telling you yes. Everybody knows that. Are we really willing to take risk for that peace? I'm telling you yes. We are willing to take risk. We are willing in Saudi Arabia to take risk and bring the peace to the area. But we can't do it alone. We need your support. We need the American also government support, and we need the European support. We feel sad when we see that, and I like what you said, the Palestinian state will be so tiny and small. It's true, but that's their choice.
No, it's not their choice.
What is that?
It's not their choice.
I'm talking about Palestinian. That's what they want.
It's not their choice. They're going to have to be a viable economic country in order to be at peace.
They should be. Why not?
They do not have the economy or the capital to be that. Are you willing to help them? You're a rich monarchy. Are you ready to say, we recognize them and we will give them X number of dollars to improve their economy? That's what they're going to need.
Are we willing to support the Palestinian state, you mean?
Yes.
Definitely, we have been supportive, but we will not give also a plain checks to Yasser Arafat or to other people. This is now the Saudi, probably it's unpopular in the Middle East, but that's what we think is good for them. The Saudi policy is, my understanding of it is, to go through the United Nations and let the United Nations with the Palestinian people uniform a state that is reasonable, that is a regular state. Then when it is a regular state, that's what we want, just regular state, functioning state. When they function, when they go and establish this functioning state, regular state, I think, I will assure you, Saudi Arabia will be the first to support. And it has been supporting the people of Palestine. But again, peace, stability are first. And it seems to me can't be brought by one country. Israelis, Palestinians have to understand their responsibilities. Americans have to also be there. They are needed, in fact, to maintain and to keep also the peace mission there.
I have an economics question from a somewhat different point of view. For the past 30 or 40 years, Saudi Arabia has had enormous income from oil revenues, which the government has used for improving infrastructure, education, subsidizing parts of the economy, for foreign aid, for putting in U.S. banks and buying U.S. government bonds. And during this time of great prosperity, they have incurred some long-term continuing obligations. My question is, would you comment on the current condition of the Saudi Arabian economy? Are they still such an engine of large earnings and beneficence, or how does it stand?
Well, I think it's good. After the Gulf War, we have, we participate in the Gulf War almost $70 billion, which made some problems for our economy. Luckily, we have passed this stage now. We are balancing our deficits, and there is a lot of plans that also to go in the privatization now plan. So I think we are hitting the right direction. Hopefully there will be no need for another war, this is what we are worried, that we have to participate and then will be another crisis. But generally we are doing well. There's a lot of reformation, a lot of adjustment, and a lot opening up for other investors. We have developed now other sources of income rather than the oil, which also now giving us some alternatives, so we don't depend totally on oil. According to some figures, that oil is representing only 35% of the revenue of the kingdom. So I think we hope that we are going in the right direction.
The question is this: how do you foresee success of democratic movements in the entire Middle East, especially given the assertion that democracy could potentially lead to the election of a fundamentalist Islamic regime? And how do you think that's going to affect foreign relations with the U.S.?
Very frankly, fundamentalism and extremism are to be just acknowledged as a problem in the Middle East. And if we deny it, we'll not do anything about it. Problematic in Egypt, Jordan, GCC countries, in Morocco, in Algeria. But I will tell you something else. That is, it seems to me, they are reaching the peak. What Bin Laden did is exactly what's destroying them now. Because people came to find now, to realize in the Middle East that, hey, these are very exclusive ideas. We can't buy these ideas because people will go to be terrorists in the future. So now families are now coming after 11 September to say to their kids, no, let's see what you are reading. Let's see which group you are going with. So there will be no more just like plain check to be signed for the kids to go to any camp or to any group, or no. So it is true, the fundamentalist is a problem, extremism is a problem, but in Saudi Arabia, I'm not worried about this issue at all. Because publicly, Bin Laden groups and Bin Laden ideas are not accepted, rejected more now, particularly when they understood that he was sneaky. He could not be successful in Saudi Arabia, so he went to our friends. Can't let him do that. So it seems to me the fundamentalism, extremism reached the peak, which means they started declining now. And people are really in many places. I've been in many places. I've been a writer. I read the newspapers. I've been in television programs. A lot of calls come from the public saying, no, we didn't want these ideas. These are very exclusive ideas, very bad ideas, didn't represent Islam. Bin Laden represent himself, blah, blah, blah. All these, I would say, good notions, in fact. So Middle East now are realizing, Middle Eastern realizing what they are about. No, I mean, they don't want to lose. In fact, their friends there. And what happened, it wasn't against you alone. It was also against our values, against our culture, against our religions, against our interests, against our people. For example, just in Saudi Arabia, what happened to us? 800 students, unfortunately, paid half a price for Bin Laden criminal acts. Students in the United States, then they went to visit their families to tell their families that we are okay. And believe me, they were telling beautiful stories about Americans. One guy, he was in an area close to New York, from Bin Laden group. The president of the university called him and tell him, you are okay. Don't be scared. We would like to protect you. We know that this person is, we didn't in America punish others for what others doing. So what should we do to you, to help you? Come to our home. So many of our, in fact, friends, kids, they were called by American families, by their professor in the universities, come, you are one of us. Come, stay with us. We want to protect you. That's what America is about. And those kids, when they went there to Saudi Arabia, unfortunately, were not given visa. See that the trillion of legal suits that being now taken against some of the Saudi also charitable organizations and some also Saudi officials. Nonsense. In fact, this is going to be against the business relation between the Saudi Arabia and between America. So again, I would like to say, just in brief, that I think the Middle Eastern are awake now. 11th of September was a wake-up call, and to democracy as ideals, because democracy is not just in politics. Democracy it's a way of life, of thinking, intellectual in the Middle Eastern, embracing, in fact, the Western ideals. But one thing, of course, they have to also see how to implement these ideals, how to bring it to be positive, not to make what happened in Iran just Westernization. We differentiate, particularly in Saudi Arabia, between two concepts: modernizations and Westernization. Welcome to modernization in institutions, ideas, education, but not to copy exactly what America has. Beautiful what you have, but it wouldn't be working accordingly, the way that is working here. And Saudi Arabia is really a developing country, still developing country. It's many of the Middle Eastern still developing country. Don't forget that 50% of the Middle Eastern populations are illiterate, period. They didn't treat them right. So what to do? To bring them for voting and this and that will create a lot of problems. Even though almost the Islamic countries, about 48 countries, Arab countries, about 22 countries, elections are there except in 2 countries. Saudi Arabia and another country had no election. But still, in my opinion, it is really, what to say, artificial democracy. What we want is real life, not artificial democracy. It doesn't work to bring just artificial democracy for others. Hopefully, to go mainly to the basic services to the people, human being. We want development to be centering around, dancing around with the human being. If the development is really related to people life, people ideals, at the same time going with the globalization, I think that could be helpful. So I'm sorry to tell you, democracy is not really as probably you wish to be, but it's for a reason, and hopefully things will be, or the development will be more and more every day.
Let me apologize to Professor Barnett and others who had questions, but we have to bring it to a close. Gentlemen, this has been a marvelous afternoon. We thank you very, very much.
Thank you very much.